Good evening, everyone, or good day, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stack Your Points. As always, I'm Matt Clausen from the Matt Clausen YouTube channel. I'm joined by RJ from Do You Take Cards? How are you today, RJ?
I am well. I have been in 4 states today, so I'm a little bit tired. Thankfully, I am home now.
That's a good day.
I like the 4 state days, or I miss some of the 4 state days, but yeah. Uh, Also joined by Lonnie from Call Me Lonnie. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. I just decided to finally finish setting up my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 folding phone, and it's a lot of fun right now.
New toy, always
New
good.
toy.
That is the only Samsung phone that makes me almost a little kind of jealous of Android a little bit.
I don't know that there's any Samsung phones that make me jealous, but then like Google will come out with a new Pixel, and I'm like, almost.
I'll have it too in a couple of weeks. Don't worry.
Ooh. Coming soon. All right. So, as always, we like to do a rundown of the news, and we had a couple of big ticket items this past week. The first will be the American Express Gold Card was refreshed. The categories will stay the same. The dining category will now have a cap of $50,000 in spend per year. Added on were a semi-annual Resi credit for $50 in the first half of the year, $50 in the second half of the year, an $84 monthly Dunkin' Donuts credit or Dunkin' credit. Luckily, you can use that in the app, so that's really helpful for those who do not live near Dunkin' Donuts. So you can build up your credits and splurge whenever you feel the need to. Um, is there anything else I'm missing from the update? RJ, you are a residential Amex person. Your initial thoughts on it?
So I think that the Resi credit is more useful than I expected because you don't actually have to book through Resi. All they have to do is be a Resi restaurant. So there's no actual like thing you have to do. So you might actually use the credit and not even realize that you qualify for it, which I think can be handy in terms of just being like, oh, cool, I get $50 off my bill this time. That I really like because, you know, sometimes when you're traveling, you're not like looking up. Not all of us are Tariq and like planning based on like the Mileage Plus X app or whatever dining program we're in. So that I think is handy. The Dunkin' one, I think, look, I like Dunkin', so I'm biased. I have like $50 in Dunkin' cash right now just because I preload the thing a couple of times a year. So for me, it works out great. I think Dunkin' is in enough airports that if you travel at all, you're gonna run into a Dunkin' somewhere. You can get a soda, you can get water, you can get coffee, you can get whatever you want. I think because Dunkin' Mobile is such a part of Dunkin', the ability to just put $7 a month in there is probably the easiest quote hack of any of the Amex credits. So for me, $184 added in credits for 75 in annual fee. I think it is less of an issue than I thought it was going to be when we just sort of read everything last week and we had those leaks. So far, I'm pretty happy with it. I also got the white gold card. I personally am now calling myself the captain of the white golds because I think it looks awesome, but I do understand why some people got it and will be switching back to regular gold.
Absolutely. Lonnie, any thoughts on the gold card refresh?
So I have also submitted for the white gold. It has not arrived yet. So I have not seen it in person, but I have seen the conversations, the conflicts, the complaints of the actual look of it when it physically shows up versus what it looks like in the images. I'll put in my 2 cents when mine shows up in the mail, whatever day that's going to be. Going away from that. So I don't live particularly close to any resi restaurants. Now, I'm not going to say it's like far away, like I have to hop on a plane or drive for 3 hours or anything like that, but I would have to drive for probably maybe an hour to get to like at least one that I would be interested in. I'll say that. So not necessarily they're not necessarily far, but I would of course want to go to one that they're interested in. I'm not necessarily opposed to the Resi credit because it's $50 um the first half of the year and $50 on the back half of the year. Makes total sense. And that's easy just a date night somewhere once every 6 months or so. So I feel like I would be able to use it easily. Even if we went down the going before we get into gift cards, even if we went down the gift card thing of if I'm just in the neighboring city at the restaurant, the Japanese one that I'd be most interested in anyway, can I just pick up a $50 gift card and start stacking gift cards for that restaurant for said date night that comes later. So by the end of the year, I could have $100 to use there. Maybe. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Even if I don't use it, still not that huge of a loss. The Dunkin' credit's actually a little bit harder for me to use because I once again, I know I would have to drive probably 30, 40 minutes to the closest Dunkin' Donuts. I like a good donut, but not that much. I don't go to Dunkin' regularly. I actually know because as this week had the news of the week has happened, I actually realized I know where more Dunkin' Donut restaurants are outside of the US than I actually do like in the area that I live in. And careful with the airports, RJ, because I know for a fact that the one in Korea at ICN Airport will not accept the mobile Dunkin' app. Found out the hard way one morning.
Yeah.
but but once again, like I did the trial and error. I volunteered as tribute over the weekend. Added $7 in the mobile app, brand new. Created an account, downloaded the app, created an account, added my card, added exactly $7 to it, and 2 days later, I got the email saying you're going to get your $7 credit back. And as of today, it's already on my Amex account. I've already got my $7 back. Um, which is great because I actually, as many of you guys know, I've talked about this before. I take trips with my friends. I go home for the holidays. I am from Illinois. The majority of my family and my siblings are still back there in the Midwest. So, like, if I go home this holiday, I'll have a couple of months, of $7 credits. So 3 months is $20, 4 months 28. We can all do math, um, and then I can just like go pick up a 12 pack, couple of coffees, and some munchkins for my siblings, nieces, and nephews one morning because I can just sit here and stack it up in the app. So I actually find benefit in that particular way. If I only use it once or twice a year and I just constantly stay on top of making sure I use my $7 a month, adding that to my account, eventually it's going to stack up. And then, like I said, I take a friend's trip. I got a trip to Disney with my best friend and his family next year. I'm already looking at it like I'm gonna have like 60, $70 in Dunkin' credit or whatever that adds up to be, whatever how before we go, that is, where I can just go buy donuts and bring them back to the hotel for for all the kids and things like that. So yeah, I think it's inevitable. I mean, you know how I feel about business. I'm a business professional myself, so seeing a $75 raise doesn't really change anything. I don't think anyone should be surprised or offended. And at the same time, like I said, I've said this a million times, these card companies aren't here for us. They're there for them. And if you don't fit on the right side of the equal sign in their business equation, well, it ain't for you. And in this case, I understand it from a business standpoint. As a card holder and a consumer, does it make sense for me? It doesn't really change that much.
The only thing that it makes me really wish is that the dining credit was like the Resi credit and it was more than just the $10 a month. Because I don't think there's anything you can get at Five Guys, which is now part of the dining credit, that is $10 except for maybe a fry. Like, I do wish there was a way to stack it for the dining credit that way, or just a dining credit that whatever restaurant you go to, it'll just do $10. But you know, I can't have everything. I got an easy Dunkin' credit, so I'll deal with Five Guys.
But so I have to disagree with you there, RJ. And so not even just the $10 credit for Five Guys and when they did it for Shake Shack or Uber or Grubhub, whatever you use your $10 credits on. It's not there to just be used for exactly $10. It's to save you $10 on something you were already going to spend money on anyway. So like if you're going to Uber or Uber Eats, like, actually let's take the food part out of it because the $10 Uber one you can use for rideshare. You're not like standing outside the bar or a club or at the sports venue like this ride's going to cost me $11. You know? So why we gotta translate that to the restaurant industry as well? Like, if you're going to Five Guys, you were going to Five Guys, and you know Five Guys is a $20 bill plus another denomination and whatever. Five Guys ain't cheap. I know that. Every time I walk in, it's gonna cost $20. At least $20. So this is just to help save that $10 for something I was already gonna get. Now, unlike instead of like it's a $10 gift card. Because if it was a $10 gift card, we wouldn't be sitting there like I gotta use exactly this gift card. You would think of it the exact same way of I'm gonna go to Five Guys and I got $10 that I can take off of whatever my purchase is gonna be. So let's not think of it that way. It's not meant to be just $10. It's there to save you $10 on a purchase you were already gonna make.
No, that's fair. I just wish I could stack it as easily as the Dunkin' credit. That's my
I
ultimate point.
I don't disagree with that. It would be great if we could just stack it, and then at the end of the year, I would have $120 in a food credit. That would be awesome. But then, come on, we know this community well enough by now. Then it would just turn it instead of trying to squeeze $10 out, they would just try to squeeze $120 out and then walk away.
Do we come to quarterly at least with the dining credit? $30 a quarter?
I would actually not be opposed to that, to be completely honest, because even at $30, once again, $30 is one trip to Five Guys, and I will probably go 4 times a year. I don't go there regularly right now, but I would go 4 times a year at one time. Yeah.
Is actually ordered Five Guys tonight. Don't hold the American Express Gold Card. Actually ordered Five Guys tonight. $47.50.
For how many people? Just 1? Just yourself?
Two.
Yep. Yep.
Two.
Sounds about right.
My burger, the bacon cheeseburger, at least in New York locations, $12.50. But I added an extra patty. So the regular bacon cheeseburger, $10.95.
And you gotta
So
get
there you
fries
go.
and a drink because you gotta get fries and a drink. But on behalf of Five Guys, only one person needs to order fries.
Large Cajun fries, yes, that feeds 2+ people.
Yep.
Um, the only reason I brought up the quarterly is I let my DoorDash credit on the Sapphire Reserve. I let that roll quarterly, so I use that 4 times a year. But it's a
Mhm.
$5 credit versus a $10 credit, and I don't ever when I make that one order every quarter, I do not worry about the price because I'm just getting $15 back. But I understand the gamification some folks will do. So that's the Amex Gold refreshes. I buried the lead. There is the white gold card, and the annual fee increased to $325. Nearly said the wrong number. And the other thing I forgot to mention is American Express has publicly made the travel portal 2 times membership rewards purchases on the gold card more visible because apparently you could always do things like book cruises, book hotels, book attractions, things like that in the portal and get 2 times points. Now they're just making that public facing. For me, I was expecting. I don't know why I thought the card would go in a slightly different direction, but it stayed in the lane where it is, and it's very successful there. So yeah, I'll probably put more thoughts on it in a video on my own on that one. So we'll move over to the other big piece of news that dropped this week. Built is putting the brakes on rent day in October. I'm going to turn over to Lonnie in just a second, but just to give a little bit of context here, on rent day, you can earn up to 10,000 bonus points on your spend. So if you are spending just in the 2x category, you can spend up in the one times for everything else category. You could spend up to $5,000 in that category. If you're doing purchases for vacations, that would have been $2,500. And if you were purchasing for dining, the dining credit would have been $3,333 every rent day to max out that percentage. You'll still get whatever you get for the base earnings, but the bonus starting on October 1st, after a change in the terms and conditions, is going to drop from 10,000 points to 1,000 points. Pretty drastic drop. Now, this was put, I think, perfunctory as just a bit in the terms and conditions of there's X number of days we have to give notice. And this was them doing that in the terms and conditions. And I think there's a bigger announcement that they just weren't able to lock down at the moment, but big change coming. I'll turn it over to Lonnie for his initial thoughts on this one.
Yeah. First things first, on the surface, I am one of the many people that is actually affected by this. And I'm not going to say I'm excited or I'm happy, and I'm not going to try to make a fluff statement around like, oh, this is a business decision. This all makes sense in some sort of way, because it does. We've talked about this before, Matt and I, at least offline, and I've even brought it up in some of my previous videos, is that the majority of people don't use the built card the way the built card's supposed to be used. It's not used as a normal credit card of any other bank issuer or plastic slash metal, where the majority of people that use this card, yeah, they pay the rent with it, and then they make 4 mini transactions, $1 transactions, a couple of $5 transactions, whatever, just to hit that, do the bare minimum to get those 5 transactions to get the money from their rent. And then they take those points and just transfer them out. They're probably not even waiting on a rent day transfer bonus to transfer them out, because they're probably only blue or silver status anyway, which you're not really getting too much of an incentive from, where you can guarantee probably 2 cents per point or more if you just transfer them out to a partner anyway. Whereas I am one of the people where I would literally plan out my purchases, especially my large purchases, and say, I'm not going to buy this until the first of the month so I can put it on my bill card. So I would have very large purchases to make sure I maxed out that 10,000 points, which is how I was able to hit platinum status in 2023. So I'm platinum status with Built here in 2024. Yes, they changed their status tiers, and that's another completely other conversation about their status tiers and the benefits for those that don't live in Manhattan. I'm just going to call it what it is. But as for the 90% drop on rent day, I'm affected. That was the majority of my points and how I earned them from Built and what I did to get them from Built, and strategically plan around them to not play the minimalist game of just pay my, I'm not going to say my rent because I have my home, but pay rent and then just get 4 other transactions, which I'm sure that Richard Kerr brought it up himself. He tweeted it out that the majority of people, this is what they're doing, and they're not getting over that 1,000 points. So this is just a horrible failed case of the ones that ruined the system won, versus let's create a business model and a business decision to get more people to use the card the way that we want and need them to use the card. It kind of just folded in with the majority. I'm not in that majority, so yes, I'm directly affected. And that upsets me a little bit, because yes, now I'm going to lose out on points. Now I have to change my purchase strategies where I might not be able to get that guaranteed 2 points on a non all other purchase category. Even for dining, I would spend a lot on dining on the first of the month. Once again, just going back to the gift card thing, like if I went to the grocery store and the closest grocery store to me has like a Wingstop right next to it, I could just buy a gift card at Wingstop, get 6 points per dollar, and then go use that gift card later in the month when I actually wanted to eat that Wingstop or save it for another time or something of that nature. That's almost all gone because 1,000 points is $167. $167 on day one is and that's done. Just using that on dining. $167 times 6 is a little bit over 1,000, if I'm doing my math correctly. That's not a lot. You want to talk about date night? Like you go into a $4 sign, $3 sign restaurant, like a resi place. 150, 160 is one person. That's leaving money on the table. Where now I actually have to finagle and think of that. Like, would it be better if I know I'm going to spend more than I could earn? Would it be better to not use my built card at all and use something like a Freedom Unlimited? Or if obviously like a 5X category like Freedom Flex, 100% cap that opportunity now, where this is actually going to push me away from built. Now, granted, they got some other things on the rise. If you're a built member and you got that email, we all got the same email except for the name has changed a little bit. But like healthcare, student loans, I'm starting to see myself as not the built customer. I don't have healthcare costs like a certain demographic, the younger demographic, especially with the rise of therapy. Not saying there's nothing wrong with therapy. Let's normalize it. Everybody, if that's what you need to do, go ahead and do that. And 100% use your built card once they open up that earnings category on it. Student loans. I've paid off all my student loans. So now, as someone outside of the current built system, because they haven't opened up mortgages yet, where do I fit in? This might end up being a sock drawer card for me. We'll have to see how it unfolds. But as of right now, I'm a little upset because there was a built a program with a credit card around differentiation. And I see that they have just made themselves a lot of the same. But I'm just thinking off the top of my head right now. I'm actually the next video I'm writing and recording is going to be on this topic as well. So stay tuned. My mind and I'll grind my gears and formulate a more tenured response that will be released in the next couple of weeks or whatnot. But as of right now, still fresh off the press. I don't like it. This is a bad. This affects me, and me personally, I say this is a bad direction for the company because I really enjoyed their differentiation.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand that this is half cooked, or I'm assuming that it's half cooked, especially after the email that you mentioned, where they're talking about student loans, they're talking about healthcare costs, maybe they're going to talk about some other categories, who knows, grocery, whatever else, because like they are thinking on a different level usually. I don't know what's going on here, so maybe October is the beginning of, they could launch another card that could suit some of their customers better. Maybe they're putting together that annual fee card that's going to include mortgages. Maybe they're doing this, that. We don't really know. Like, to me, the only thing that I've read into what's gone on with that is this was language that they had to put in because regulations state you have to, if you're making changes to a program like this, you have to give your customers advance warning. This was the only thing that got picked up from the email in terms of conditions change. And I absolutely understand why people are roasting Built for this, and they can roast Built for other reasons. But I don't think this is the story that they wanted. They wanted excitement for healthcare. They wanted excitement for student loans because they wanted people asking, what are they going to do about student loans? Especially because student loan forgiveness may be a thing that'll happen, but that's only for federal loans. Personal loans still got to get paid. So maybe if they're going to do something with that, and your personal loans can get you points for vacation, that's another way to diversify. But nobody's going to talk about that because they're just worried about the miscommunication about this when this was just perfunctory. I think. Now,
Yeah.
I could be 100% wrong.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you that first off, the email was a lot of hypothetical, except for one thing. And that one thing that was fact and guaranteed was on October 1st, you'll only be able to get 1,000 points from your doubled multiplier or whatever your rent day multipliers are starting on October 1st. Everything else was pure hypothetical and future scope where
Yep.
healthcare is not available today. So that we're not going to talk about that. And they didn't put a timeline on it. They didn't say that's starting on October 1st. They didn't say that for student loans. Now, granted, I do agree that those are two great categories for people to work things on. I see a chiropractor. I love my chiropractor. I've been seeing him for like 7 years. My chiropractor is awesome. And if I can get extra points off of that, sure, awesome. Now, I only pay my copay because I have insurance, so I'm not going to get that much off of it anyway. But still, student loans. There are people that are older than me that still have student loans. I understand that that a lot outside of your roof and your transportation and what you put in your stomach are the top like spending categories for the average American right now. And very close, if not in the like the fifth man off the bench, probably the sixth one would be student loans. I also get that. Speaking for Lonnie, those don't affect me.
Yep.
So I'm not really getting anything from it. So for me, I am an upset card holder as of right now. Now, granted, I also agree with you, Matt, that this could change. And we don't really know what we don't know. We don't know what they're doing. I don't work for Built. I obviously I met a couple of people that work from Built. I have a video that proves that I have met someone that works at Built. So I can at least say that much, right? But I think they need to do something better that's more inclusive. I've said this before is that Built is not a very inclusive program. If you're not in Manhattan, that's like if you're in Manhattan, Built is great, but the second you cross that bridge or go under that tunnel, it starts to get a little bit less the further you go. And like even for me as a platinum member to hear we're going to do this blade party on whatever July 28th, July 29th, and platinum members get in for free and we're going to fly you from one side of Manhattan to the other. You get to see all the great. Guess who's not going to be able to go? You know how much it's going to cost me just to get to Manhattan to go to a party? And please, and if I did, that party better not be whack. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying if I was actually going to travel there for a party, this better be the best party I've ever been to. It's not inclusive. So even
No.
as a platinum member, I'm like, man, it's really great that y'all are doing that, but what do I get? And we've talked about this before. I brought this up before. Matt, you just dropped it in one of your more recent videos, either for like I think from today or yesterday. Platinum members should be getting advanced perks. 2x on all other purchases once you hit platinum. As long as you maintain platinum, you should get 2x. A grocery category. You do 4x on grocery, you won me back. I will probably cancel my Amex Gold card if Built did 4x on grocery and I can get 8x on rent day. Built, you just won me back. But as of right now, I don't know where I fit in their program.
Absolutely. And I don't think they even extend to the bridges and tunnels in New York. I think after 59th Street, they're kind of done with the island of Manhattan. But if you're below 59th Street, awesome. RJ, I totally understand your reticence with regard to build, but did you have anything you wanted to hop in with on this one?
Yeah, not
So
to
if
suck
I
up all the air in the room, RJ. You
no,
can
it's
take the
okay.
mic.
So putting aside my dislike of Built and their customer service and all of that, if I put that aside and just put on my sort of pontification hat, this feels like a move you make because you're going to put out an annual fee card to give all those features back. This feels like they want to do $150, $250 annual fee card where you have the higher limit on rent day, where you have potentially more for platinum members, where you have those things. Because I agree with both of you when we talked about Wells Fargo losing money on Built, that it is not as big of a deal as some people made it out to be. But I think if you take it in context with this and the changes Built are making, it's not nothing. And I don't think those two things are entirely disconnected. So my only thought is they want an annual fee card so they can start bringing in that revenue. Maybe that annual fee card makes it easier to get to platinum, because one of the concerns that I hear from a lot of people is how hard it is to get the higher statuses, especially if they have more than Built or they use a larger stable of cards. So for me, it screams, we have another card coming. We don't have all the details that we can tell you. Maybe that other card has student loans or healthcare or whatever, or has it at a higher return. So we can't tell you everything, but we wanted to give it, we wanted to give you all these details about it that we could give you, but we snuck this other thing in, and we were hoping it was the Friday night news dump and you wouldn't see that. But oh, that's the only thing people are talking about. So I have a feeling Built HQ is scrambling because the one thing they wanted people not to pay attention to is the only thing people are paying attention to. And from all of their communications, it seems that the thing that they could do to actually help, which is give it details on this new card, isn't ready yet. So from that perspective, I think Built probably should have figured out a way to bury this better if you were going to try to bury this for the other card. Either have details on another card, tease it a different way, give a sweetener of some kind, like, hey, here's just 3,000 points because we love all of you, something. A sponsorship with, United, you can transfer to United, for 1.5 times or whatever, something, right? But they didn't. They gave all these hypotheticals, and they cut something that people really rely on, or at least a number of people rely on it, maybe not everybody, but a number. Because they can always say, oh, only 5% of people go over this, but we have to believe them, and whether we do or not sort of depends on how we feel about them. So from my perspective, sort of as an outsider, this feels like they're setting up a new card. So I don't know how I feel. I mean, I'm not going to get it regardless of what the card is. But I'm interested to see how they land this plane, because right now, at least one of the engines is burning and the other has a goose stuck in it.
So I don't disagree with you. And I actually really resonate with what you had just said, except for one part, that email, where the only factual news had the smallest font in the entire email. That was not a mistake. That was trying to sweep it under the rug and hopefully nobody know. The trademark in the copyright font on that email was larger than and starting October 1st we're going down to 1,000. So they knew what they were doing.
We're really hoping nobody would notice what they were doing.
Exactly. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they're hoping nobody would notice. I totally agree. But going back to my original statement about the minimalists, the people that would normally, the majority of people that would probably pay the rent with it, and then for $1 transactions. I can also understand by going back to the $10 million a month with Wells Fargo that they need to clean up, because if this group of people at this age group, this demographic that live in that rent homes and whatnot, probably have health care, they probably have student loans, where if you can change a $1 transaction to, like I said, my healthcare copay is $20. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm being transparent here. So when I go see my chiropractor, it costs me $20. If I go to the hospital, it costs me $20. But still, from $1 to $20, that $19 difference, just think about that. How many people that they get an extra $19 from adds up. On top of that, student loans. Like I said, student loans ain't cheap. I remember paying mine. It sucked, but I was like, I don't want these forever. If I could go back and get at least just 1 point per dollar for my student loans, I would accept it. I understand the business decision that they're making. I have no problem with that. I do have a problem with how they announced it, because, like, if you're going to drop this news, you gave this super long email a 4-page letter, and then you drop your font down to a 4, maybe a 2 at the very, 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 very bottom. That's completely different. But taking all that out, just Lonnie himself did not fit into that email, and I don't like the changes that are coming because it pushes me out as a card holder.
No, I think when I mentioned that letter, I was like, or mentioned the change, I was like, well, at the very least, they did communicate it. They just didn't communicate it well. And I think that just happened because there was another component to that email that was probably factual that they couldn't send at the time. But again, we don't know.
Yep, I don't
And
disagree. Yep.
until we know something more, we're left with, me being able to do another speculation station for about 15
Yeah.
minutes just riffing on this.
This is what we got today, so this is what we got to work with. These are the cards they dealt us. Yep.
Yep. Not that I wouldn't riff for 15, 20 minutes on a speculation station of what Built might have coming next, but we're going to transition off of that because we've talked about Built and the American Express Gold card a little too much. Let's jump into our topics, and we're going to switch things up again here. You know what? I'll go first again this week. My first topic is don't make us math, and by that I mean there are credit card companies that tell you how much you're going to earn, but they break it down as your base number of points, your base earnings, plus your bonus earnings. And there are companies that are really good about showing this as your total earnings. There are companies that are really bad about showing this as your separated earnings. And if you're advertising to us that we're going to get 4% on something, don't show me 1 + 3 and have to go look for it and make me do my own math. I dropped a video on this today with the Wells Fargo Attune card. This was the prompting of this. And I had forgotten because I've held the autograph card for so long that I didn't remember that the autograph card does 1 + 2 on all of your point earning. And I went back and I looked at it. I'm just like, no, like as the residential Wells Fargo fanboy, like if you're trying to bring people into your system and trying to get people excited about your cards and coming in with travel partners and moving things over, show them the earnings that they're going to get on their card. Chase in their application, they show this. They give you the total at the end of when you pull up the transaction that posted, they give you the total number of points. American Express is awesome with this. Like I only have the Hilton card, but when I pay $10 for something, it shows me I'm getting 30 points on my Hilton card. Don't make us math when you're trying to get us excited about something. And like I want to see, and I'm targeting Wells Fargo for this, but I've heard in comments on that video, US Bank does the same thing. I'm sure there are other less sophisticated banks that also do it. Like if I had the PNC cards that gave me points on gas and stuff, it would be the same breakdown as 1 + 3. Or if I was holding a regional credit union card, that would probably show as like 1 + 2 or something like that. But if you want us to spend on your card and show us the earnings that we're getting, show me the earnings. As I channel Cuba Gooding Jr. there. But to me, I just don't like the having to like sit there and make sure and cross check and audit and double check and make sure that everything is working good. Especially in an ecosystem that has so many pitfalls to so many people. And I'm speaking about Wells specifically there. If you're trying to get people excited, don't do what you're doing. Fix it. We'll go to RJ first on that one.
So I have a couple of thoughts on this. First is I think one of the problems that Wells Fargo had with the Attune is because they separated the math out. People were assuming that things weren't coding correctly. And I think some of it, I don't know if all of it, but I think some of it is simply how Wells, you posted some pictures and and it does show it differently. And I think people see that 1x, assume, hey, you told me Etsy, like on your website would work for this, and I'm only seeing 1x, and then they're getting mad and they, I haven't seen anybody say they canceled the card because of this, but they might just not use it as much, right? And that is a problem for Wells. If you get a card and don't tell anybody or don't recommend it, that's also bad for Wells, right? If you get a card, Wells wants people to be told about it, right? So I think that's a problem. I also think like I everybody knows I like Amex, but I think the Amex app is one of the nicer apps. I have Chase and Capital One as well. I think the way the Amex's app is laid out is really helpful. I think the way the points are laid out is very helpful. You can do it by card. So if you have a bunch of points earning cards, you can get sort of a tally of your points that way. And I think banks need to invest in better apps. Like that is something that these SoFis of the world or these other sort of fintech companies do really well. They don't necessarily bank very well, but they look good. And I think in today's world, people equate a really slick app with good service and with good company in a way that I think that if Wells or if US Bank or whoever, isn't really putting the points in your face that way, people are going to think that this is a lesser product, even though they're a better bank in terms of like not going bankrupt, perhaps. But they look at the app and say, oh, this app looks, like poo. I don't want to actually bank with Wells Fargo because it's difficult to track my points or it's difficult to do whatever. And I think that matters. I think in 2024, people expect a certain level of slickness in their apps that banks haven't necessarily all caught up to. Amex and Chase are the ones I use the most. They both have pretty solid apps. Chase, I would like it to be a little bit different. I don't need quite so many things, quite so many places, but overall it's fine. So yeah, I think that some of it just comes down to you're making your customers angry and for no reason because you're giving them all your points or all their points, but you don't look good and you need to look like you need to dress the part. Wells Fargo, you need to dress the part.
Yep. And I can confirm that a very large retailer does code as 4%, but you wouldn't know it when you go searching through your points. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. And if you want to know the retailer, check out my video comments. Sure. Uh, Lani, any thoughts on this?
I have to bow out of this, but I'm not going to say I don't disagree. And the reason why I say I have to bow out because I don't have a single Wells Fargo card outside of my Built card, which doesn't use the Wells Fargo app; it uses its own Built app. Um, and to go to your example and RJ's example, so my three main brands are Chase, Amex, and also my Built card, where, as you had mentioned, my problem is solved. They do it for me. So I've never had this as a problem. And that's why I said I'm going to have to bow out. And even with Built, it is separated, but at least I can see it instantaneously. So going back to rent day, if I made a $25 purchase, it says I paid $25 and then rent day $25 points. Very quick, very easy to see under your points activity. Now, I do agree with you because as a point stacker, someone that values their points, and I want to know where all my points are because I want to make sure I'm getting all of them from all those transactions and whatever that I'm doing to make sure I get all of my points. I would hate it if I had to go search to make sure that they were all there. And right now, like I said, I can't really talk about it because I don't have to do that. When I do something, if I use Chase Travel Portal, they're instantly there. I can see where they came from. If I use a Chase or United shopping portal, even though it comes separately, I get an email saying that they're there. And then I can go into my account after my statement ends, of course, and I can actually go through my current month or whatever. I'll be able to go in July and I'll see that I made a purchase at Macy's for $100 purchase at Macy's for 4 points per dollar. And it'll say Macy's United Mileage Plus shopping portal 400. Like I'll be able to see it very instantaneously in multiple places. So not just in the shopping portal app, but in my on the app on my phone, on when I log into my account on the website, I'll be able to see it everywhere. So if I didn't have that, I would totally probably be in your shoes there, Matt, and be like, why are you making me do the work? Now, granted, I'm happy I don't have to do the work. I didn't know there was a bad side to this. So I'm going to stop right there. Like I said, I'm going to bow out and I'm just going to be happy with what I got.
It's just back end coding, and it can be fixed probably in like a week. But why nobody thought to look at this is, yeah. So don't make me math. Like, I have no problem mathing. I'm capable of doing the math, but don't make me. I spend
I
enough
don't
on
want
your
to do
cards
it.
not to.
I don't want to do
Exactly.
it.
I put enough spend through the cards that I shouldn't have to go back and make sure that all my spend is correct, because with my Wells Fargo cards, and the thing that annoyed me the most was with Wells Fargo, the active cash is 2% and the signified business cash is 2%. Those show in the app as 2%. It's not 1 plus 1. It's just straight 2. And that is the thing that has been driving me bonkers the entire time. Because I use those cards like separately. Like, I go to a gas station, I make sure I get my 3% card. Like, I go to a place where I'm only going to get 2% on that card, I'm going to use my 2% card. My 2% shows as 2%. Everything else is broken, and I don't want to do the math.
Do you think they do that because those two cards are 2% only? So it's just coded, like you can't get 1% on them. So it's just coded on the back end as 2% versus the other cards are 1% base and then they have select categories.
I think that's what they do, and I think they should just break it as, if it's a 4% category, it'll code as 4%, and if it's a 1% category on the Attune, it'll code as 1%. Because if I would understand if they took Citibank's logic with the double cash, and with the double cash, you get 1 point when you spend and 1 point when you pay your bill. So like it's a little broken, but it comes together as 2 points as long as you pay your bill with Citi. If Wells Fargo had done that, that would at least be like one set philosophy of one base plus one bonus. Whereas they did two, and then this other garbage of 1 plus whatever your bonus is. Just pick a system, pick a lane.
I,
Don't be dumb.
I I personally, just the way that you're describing it, and I have no idea if this is true or not, but I would actually say it's more of they already had a system in place, and instead of like restructuring, recoding said system, they just added a new coat of paint on top of it. Like we've all been to like an old YMCA or something where it's like you got the big blue wall that's gotten old, and instead of just painting the whole wall, they just like paint one little patch, and now you see a slightly different color blue patch on top of the old blue wall itself. That's what it sounds like they did. They're like, well, we already got this whole thing that already counts the one point or the 1%, but now we got these categories that have 4%. So instead of like rewriting everything, let's just say if you did at X retailer, you're already getting your 1%. So now this X retailer adds 3 on top of it. But it's not putting everything in the same spot or in the right place, which is causing Matt to do math.
Just a couple of drop tables, guys. It's just a couple of drop tables.
Paint the whole wall. Just repaint the whole wall.
Please, please. It'll look prettier. All right. With that, let's move over to Lani and your topic for the week.
For sure. So I love my topics because my topics come from real conversations with subscribers and people that leave comments and friends and people that are running out to into the wild. And so this particular topic this week comes from well, it's a kind of like another two-parter. This would be, is it okay, or would you recommend, even if you could hit a welcome bonus spin requirement, to just be like, I don't need it and just walk away? Because right now there are a lot of cards that have inflated sign-up bonuses right now. When it's like, man, I want to sign up for that one. I want to sign up for this one. I want to sign up for that one. And it's like, can't you just walk away? Do you really need to do it? And the conversation came and stemmed from because I recently, in the last probably month now, just got the IHG Premier personal credit card, my first hotel card. I brought this up like I think 2 weeks ago in our in a previous podcast. Right after I got the card, they changed from the standard base offer of 140,000 IHG points for a $3,000 spend requirement to 5 free nights for a value of up to $60,000, but for $4,000 spend requirement. And a lot of people are asking, like, man, I know you just got it. Are you going to like switch over to the 5 free night offer? And I thought about it for a while and I've decided that no, I'm not. I think the 140K and the $3,000 is better for me. And actually, I think it's better for a whole bunch of other people as well because then that 5 free night for the 4,000K, $1,000 difference in your intro spend, already off the cuff, $1,000, saving it, whatever. But when you really look into the terms of those 5 free nights, it's up to $60,000. Once again, coming from a business and a marketing professional, when you say up to, it ain't ever that. You go to any retailer's website, you can get up to 50% off. Where's the 50% off item? It's never there, right? It always stops at like 10 or 15% because it's up to. But unlike the free night award on your anniversary, you can't supplement or add anything to those 60,000 points. Also, do some research, go to IHG website and start looking up hotels that you would actually want to stay at that are 60,000 points or lower. It's very, very hard. And it's also like Holiday Inn, Staybridge Suites, where I'm an intercontinental person. I didn't find one single intercontinental that I would actually end up staying at or planning to go to at that under 60,000 points. So that leaves with two things. Getting to my point here. That's the background context. If you were to go to a place and actually use your 5 free nights and it's 40,000 points for the night, that's still 1 free night. You didn't get the full 60, but the whole free night is now gone. The other aspect of it is that it's very hard to use. So depending on your travel preferences, which would you choose? First off, save the $1,000. I'm always going to put all my chips in that basket. Let's save the $1,000. But knowing I want to stay at the more luxurious lines of their portfolio, the Intercontinental and the Kiptons, it sounds better to just take the lesser offer of the 140,000 points instead. So I will first pass it to Matt on what would you do in this particular scenario? It doesn't necessarily have to be the IHG card, by the way. We could use the Inc. business card that has a 120,000 point bonus right now without a change in spend requirement. That's another one. I think Hilton has a inflated welcome bonus right now as well, but pick your poison. How would you approach this type of scenario or this type of situation, Matt?
So I'll jump right off the bat, and if it's a hotel branded card, unless with a free night offer attached to it and as part of the welcome offer, unless it is a Hilton certificate, multiple Hilton certificates, where I can go anywhere at any time, does not matter as long as this is a standard night. Unless it's a Hilton certificate, I'm not going after five certificates. Like, I don't care about the $4,000 spend on the IHG card. You got limits on it. The Marriott offers on the 5 free nights or the 3 free nights, whatever is coming around on whichever card, which are all bad, which are almost all bad. The Marriott business card withstanding, because that's the only good one. When the Marriott business card comes up with its 5 free nights, like, I understand the value there, but there's caps on it. If you've got caps, like, I've got to go searching. Like, I'm currently staying at a Marriott property, but I know that this Marriott property, like on a weekday, is maybe 38,000 points. So if I've got a 40,000 night certificate, cool, I'm only losing like 2,000 points. But if I could get 200,000 points for Marriott, I could stay here and like two other properties that would be really interesting to me.
Exactly. Yep.
So if you're someone who wants to control every aspect and get every single cent per point out of, like, squeeze that orange for everything it's worth, or draw the blood from the turnip, you want the points. Unless, of course, Hilton loses their minds and does something like a five night certificate promotion on any of their cards, in which case jump on that tomorrow, and it doesn't matter if it's $8,000 and spend in 3 months, do it. Because you're gonna like spend a week at the Waldorf or a week at the what's the other big one? Waldorf Conrad. So I would always go with the points in the hotel specifics. Other cards, I'm not gonna lose sleep over the ink preferred welcome offer. I'm working on an ink cash welcome offer that like I like because it's broken into spend I can manage, and on the back half, I'm gonna get a 10% redemption for having a Chase Business checking account. Like, I'm building a relationship with Chase. Like, that is more important to me than spending $8,000 in 3 months and only getting like the way that I've been getting Chase credit limits. I would probably have only gotten like a $4,000 limit on the ink preferred anyway. So maxing that twice and like not credit cycling with Chase would have been hilarious. So I'm not going to necessarily go after every single max offer. I want to, like, I would love to go after ones for cards that fit where I'm doing and go from there. In cash fits because I know how I can use it in cash. Bonvoy Boundless comes with a 3 night certificate. I don't care. Bonvoy Business Card comes out with a 5 night certificate. Cool. I've got a year to use those 5 nights, but where am I going to use them? I got to figure that out. And I'd much rather just have 200,000 Marriott points on that welcome offer. So I would go with the points, and I would just try to make sure that, like, even with these inflated welcome offers, make sure that the card I get still fits what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, don't rush the hype. And also, I totally agree. Um, and for those listening, y'all should put a stay at a Conrad on your bucket list. If I travel to more places where Conrads were, I'd probably go with my now with a second hotel card just so I can like get a little something something off that rack rate price for Conrads. But yeah, so anyone listening, if you ever get an opportunity to stay at a Conrad, just do it. Just get the chocolate covered strawberries and just do it. Just do it once.
I'm kicking myself because my Hilton's free night certificate that I got last year is about to expire in like 2 weeks, and I have to scramble to figure out what I'm going to do with that in the next couple of days.
Sell it on eBay. All right, RJ.
So I am not a fan of free night certificates. I'm actually not getting the Marriott Business right now because it's free nights and not points. And I don't want free nights because I don't necessarily care about cents per point, but I am a control freak. And if I find a place I want to stay that's 65,000 points, I don't want to have to deal with the fact that I have to like not use points, right? So I don't I don't I don't care for them. I agree with the Hilton ones because Hilton is different, but I just don't care for them. I also think that it's okay if you have a card that fits your life really well and like is going to be very useful. I actually think it's okay to get it without any sign up bonus. Like, I'm not saying you should do it often, but if it's a card that is incredibly beneficial to you in the long run, I think you should get it if it fits your life. I also, self-admittedly, I'm not a churner. I'm not somebody who gets cards that don't have a specific reason. Now, sometimes that reason is not super long-lived, but I always have a reason for why I'm getting a card, and almost never is it because of simply a sub. right? Like I have the Delta Business Gold because of the 15% off when I do redemption flights through Delta, which is my preferred airline carrier. The sub is really nice and I'm going to be able to hit it, but that's not why I got the card, because long term, I'm going to save the $150 in annual fee just on my couple of flights a year. So for me, like sign up bonuses are important to understand, okay, I can do 3,000 in 3 months. That's fine. 4,000 is pushing it and also is going to cut into my savings or cut into other things I'm doing. So maybe I wait until the extended offer is done and then go with that. Like I have no problem with that. I think we as a community get so wrapped up in, oh, it's an elevated bonus. You have to sign up for it now because it's going to, but then you're spending
The hype. Yep. The
$8,000.
hype.
And then the card that you actually wanted comes out with a really good sign up bonus that will benefit you more, but you're locked into this 8,000 and now you've spent 4,000 on it. So now you feel like if you don't spend the other 4, you've lost that 4,000 somehow. And it's like the snake eating its tail. Like it is making you spend more money, which is what the credit card companies want you to do, but also is really bad for you long term in your financial health. So I think if you're a churner and you make $300,000 a year and you can basically do whatever you want with cards, my advice is not going to be helpful to you. If you are outside of that, sometimes taking the lesser, like I got my Blue Business Plus with the quote lesser offer, but I could hit it. I didn't have to worry about overextending myself, and I got the points already. It worked for me, right? If I got the higher offer, the quote better offer, I wouldn't have been able to hit it. I would have been out more money and wouldn't have the points for what I want to do. So I think we need to be more mindful of sometimes the quote lesser offer is actually the better one for our lives instead of that hype train of, oh, it has enhanced next to it, or it's limited. It's only till the 17th of July. So if I don't get it this week, then I failed. I have to wait another 7 months until they do another one. It's like, no, if the card fits you and you don't want to do that offer, wait until the 18th and apply with the standard offer if that works better for you, and have a happy life. Like credit cards are tools. Like you drive the credit card. Don't let the credit card drive you or something like that.
No, I totally agree. That's why I don't feel bad like keeping my original base offer on this card, even throughout all the conversations. Because of course, some people have said some things about that decision. I'm like, you guys just don't understand it. You're just, I hate to say it, sheep or hype train, whatever you want to call it, but just because it's like inflated offer, new shiny thing, doesn't always mean it's best. Um, and yeah, it's okay to pass on a card. I would love to go get this Chase Ink card and the 120,000 points, but you know what? I don't need it. I'm not broke on Chase points right now, and I'd rather not spend 8K on stuff that I didn't necessarily need. What's actually funny is this earlier this evening over dinner, my wife said that she wanted to finally buy this new couch, and I'm like, when you want to buy it, because there's this 120, like if we're gonna buy this couch, we are gonna get a new card to put it on. Like that's different. But to go to your point, RJ, big purchases aside, every day going back to everyday spending, your daily life. This is the reason that made me figure out the algorithm around point stacking, is because the standard welcome offer, and I'm just going to use like a Chase or or an airline card, like their standard welcome offer usually when you do the math comes down to about 15 points per dollar, sometimes 20 points per dollar, somewhere in that range. And so when I learned that I didn't have to sign up for a brand new card, I didn't have to new sign up bonus or new welcome bonus or have a hard pull on my credit report. And I could still just use the cards that I had and get 15, 20, sometimes even more than that. Like on average, I'm probably somewhere in 15, 18 points per dollar with regular everyday transactions at regular retailers. Like RJ, you and I had a conversation about Adidas. I do that with Adidas all the time. Lululemon, do it with Lululemon all the time. Lululemon is always like 15, 18 points per dollar for me. And yes, I'm not flexing. I shop on the We Made too much clearance rack from Lululemon online only. I never buy full price. And I can still get 15 or 18 points per dollar. The same amount of points per dollar you would get when you sign up for a new credit card, but I didn't have to do it. And that's what got me into point stacking in the first place. So thank you for making me feel validated that I am not crazy, RJ. I appreciate you.
You were not crazy in this instance. I can't speak for every decision you make, but this one I agree with.
I can't speak for every decision I make, but at least I know this one is the better decision.
So I want to talk about annual fees because when the gold card was sort of leaked, the annual fee was going up. These are the possible credits. Everybody lost their minds. And I get it, right? Hearing $325, that is a large chunk of change. And you can do the math out of how many points you have to spend in the Forex categories to quote recoup that and look at the credits and all that. But I want to know, sort of in a broader context, how do you guys think about annual fees? Do you break them down to I have to spend X at, this point category over the 12 months? Do you look at it as I'm going to get a lot of value out of this in a way that I can turn money into points that can take me farther, so I'm not, thinking I have to spend $600 every month on this card going forward, or I failed? Just sort of your philosophy. If you want to share how much in annual fees you spend, please feel free. I spend a little bit over $2,000 a year right now. That will go down next year a little bit. I don't know how much. It depends on how nice US Bank is to me next year, because that is going to determine how many cards get canceled or downgraded. But for me, I look at sort of how much do I want the card? How much is this card going to improve? What do the credits do for me? Do they cover something I'm already spending? I was spending money on Walmart Plus. So when I got the Platinum, that really was a credit that I was going to use organically, for example, because I love to use the coupon book that is my Platinum card as an example for everything. But I'd like to know how you guys do it. Lani, do you want to go first?
Yeah, y'all might want to grab a drink for this one because I got a couple things to say about annual fees. The first thing is that I'm going to answer your direct question is how do I look at it? When I look at a new card, it has to fit in my lifestyle. So I'm not just going to follow the hype train and just be like, Wells Fargo Attune, great card, new welcome bonus. I'm just going to go sign up for it. I specifically look at how can I use this card from alpha to omega, from beginning to end. When I sign up for it, what am I going to get? Where are those points going to go? How can I then redeem those points for whatever goal that I'm trying to get? If it's cashback, it's cashback, which I'm not a cashback person, but some of the people listening are. Or if it's travel, it's travel. And one of the and it's one of the reasons why I really appreciate not just Chase, but my Chase Sapphire Reserve card, where in the travel portal, which I use to book flights, um, ironically enough, my United flights for my United Chase hack. If you don't know it, hit me up offline. I ain't got time to go through it right now. But that extra 1.5, so let's just say travel dining, which is 3 points per dollar on the Sapphire Reserve. I know that $1, I'm actually getting 4.5 Chase points in value for every single dollar that I spent. I've already inflated it from 3 to a 4.5, because 3 times 1.5. Those are the types of things that I look at. And then I go from a secondary level. So first off is those points or those miles or that reward currency as a whole. That's the very first thing. And the other thing is what else can I get out of it? And that goes to, like, as you were saying, the coupon book or ever, or the benefits. Like, because I have this card, I might get platinum status with IHG. I might get president circle with Hertz or Avis or something like that for a rental car. And then vice versa. Sometimes these other programs will give you status with your airline and those types of things. So what can I get out of it that funnels into that one narrow little street of my travel strategy that fits? If all of that maths, yeah, there we go. If all that maths correctly, then I'll sign up for the card, and then I'll consider the annual fee. Now, also to add to your question, so just this year, because I just got my platinum card this year, I finally capped over $1,000. I don't actually know the amount I pay. It's probably 1,100, maybe $1,200 in annual fees now, but I just capped over $1,000. But the other aspect of it is that I don't look at an annual fee as I need to spend this to get something back. It's either you buy it or you don't. It's like a t-shirt. You don't buy the t-shirt for warmth. You buy it because it looks good and you're gonna wear it in hot weather. You don't want a hoodie. You want the t-shirt. You buy it for the functionality of the product that you're purchasing itself. And look at it, the cards the exact same way. I don't like the term effective annual fee. I honestly don't, because my Sapphire Reserve is $550. It's not effectively $250. It's $550. If I don't use that $300 travel credit, I still paid $550. I didn't know if they're not going to give me a proration. They're not going to give me a refund. They're actually already screwing me over, because if I didn't have it, I would get 3 points per dollar on that travel, which is 900 points. But because it's a $300 credit, I don't get points on that credit. That's instantly taken off my statement, which means I don't get those first $300 of travel that I spend on the card. So Chase is actually just kicking me 900 points in the butt on my account anniversary right off the cuff. So I'm actually already losing out. So once again, folks, effective, kick it out the door, because that could be 900 points that I get 1.5 boost on that I'm not going to get. So throw effective out the way. And the other aspect of it is, if we're going to use effective annual fee, then I'm calling folks out right now. You got to use it for every single thing that you pay for. If you go to Burger King and you fill out the survey on the back of your receipt and they give you a $5 coupon, that your $7 Whopper effectively cost $2. No, it didn't. You paid $7 for it. You might get $5 off on your next purchase, but you got to make that next purchase. You know, like, we don't look at the people that we date and we're like, man, she's a 7, but she doesn't know how to cook. So she's effectively a 6.5. That ain't how this works. It's not how this works. You get what you get. And that's what it is. And so, looking at annual fees, if the juice is worth the squeeze, and the left side of the math equation of the equal sign equals the right side of the equal sign, then sure, that's what it is. But understand, throughout the year, I'm going to pay $1,000 in annual fees. I understand that. And if that math doesn't work out, that's where canceling cards may come in. I'm not really a churner or anything like that, but that's how I look at it. And that's how I approach it. But once again, it all has to fit in my travel strategy. What am I getting out of it? Sometimes those coupons and perks and things like that work. My platinum card, that's at their 40th anniversary. I know everybody got the same deals, but I have a lot of trips coming up where I need to rent cars. So I rented one from Hertz and got 40 off, and I rented one from Avis and got $75 off. These are the types of things to consider. Am I like count every single cent and point and penny to make sure that I get $695 worth of value? No, because once again, going back to my CSR, yes, I'm going to get the soon to be ended $5 a month DoorDash credit or my Lyft credits or anything like that. But no one's counting the 10x that I'm getting from Lyft. That's not going to the effective annual fee. So first up, can we just stop using effective annual fee? It's just a bad term to use. Can we just stop doing that? But that's the way I approach annual fees. And that's my decisions about which cards that I get. Like I said, long answer. I saw that question come up in the notes pre-recording, so I was like, RJ's going to trigger me. I already know it. So I think I did well without being too triggered, RJ.
No, I like it. And I agree. I hate effective annual fee because I pay whatever I pay, and then, that is what I've paid. Matt, I know you have Wells cards, which, top out at like $5 and a cheeseburger to have the annual fee on, but how do you feel about annual fee?
Well, Wells may or may not give me a card worth pursuing for an annual fee at some point in the near future, or whenever they decide that announcing new travel partners would be a good idea. Anyway, no, I also hold the Sapphire Reserve, and I hold only one other uh annual fee credit card, and that is the JetBlue Business Card. Now, the JetBlue Business Card can sort of give me an effective annual fee. It's a dumb term and I don't like it, but it does give me 5,000 points on my anniversary. So that 5,000 points is $50 in 1 cent per point. Now I have to use those 5,000 points on a booking, which is fine, but that's not the reason why I really like the card. The reason I really like the card is that when I make a JetBlue flight and I use points for the JetBlue flight, use points for the JetBlue flight, I get 10% back on my points. So my 10,000 point flight or my 20,000 point flight is an 18,000 point flight, is a 9,000 point flight. So like that is, savings of points, which means that I can go on another trip when I save enough point, like when I either transfer in some more points or save enough points to make another trip. And I use my JetBlue card to book with points and then pay for an upgrade to keep getting more points back. Because that card gives me 6 times points per dollar on JetBlue purchases. And I get 50% off when I'm flying and I have to pay for everything on board anyway. And it gives me free Wi-Fi. So like that card, I have no problem paying the annual fee because I know all of the ways that it's going to make my travels easier. I haven't jumped into hotel cards because I haven't found I haven't found the program where it's like, I have to be in this program. So like I take a weird approach where like I will pay to stay at Marriott's because Marriott points are trash. I will try to book Hilton where I can. Hilton points get easier when you book higher end places and book for longer terms, but I'll put that aside for the moment. Hyatt, I will transfer in Chase points. That's where most of my Chase points will go. Hyatt or JetBlue or others as needed. So Hyatt, I just book with points whenever I can. And then like other places, I will either look at building relationships and like booking with cash to start building with them because Choice will give you 10 times per dollar. Just being a member at IHG, I think, is what 10 to 15 points per dollar before you get like the card enhancements. So like I don't do the hotel cards because I haven't found where is going to be home. So until I find home, it doesn't make sense for me to buy in to get the card. Now I do have one no annual fee hotel card, but it's no annual fee. Like I'm not buying in yet. So there's that. With Sapphire Reserve, it's fine for me because I want access to Chase's transfer partners. I like that I get to use this card every day for a lot of my dining and travel related expenses. The insurances and the travel protections that this card gives me is I know if something happens, I am more than likely covered under Chase. Now, Allianz's can be a bit of a problem, but I am more than likely covered, depending on what may or may not happen. I just have to file the paperwork properly. And if I have to, I'm going to reach out to one of the members of the Venture Discord or Lani just to make sure that I do my P's and Q's on that properly and I get everything taken care of. But the insurance is on that card, the travel protections on that card, the primary CDW on that card makes it so that I know that if something happens, I'm good. And the value for that is fine at $550 that I pay for it. When it goes up to $650, and assuming that like there's other things that may come with the card, or if it goes up past $650, as long as I'm still good and as long as it still provides the value that I need it to provide me, I'm good. As much as I rag on the Chase Sapphire Preferred because it is a card that is fine, but could be so much better. I know that at $95, you're still getting that primary CDW. You're still getting most of the things that the Sapphire Reserve gives you as an insurance, as a travel protection, as delays, so that if anything were to happen with that card, you're fine. And that is worth $95. Don't do the stupid hotel credit, but that is worth $95, right? And if I went into the American Express ecosystem, as long as those cards are providing me value, they will be worth the annual fee. Like, I don't love the way the system works. I understand the value of MR points and I understand how good it can be at travel protections, but I'm not willing to buy into that yet. So if I'm not ready to buy in, it's not worth it for me to buy in. So that's why my annual fees are definitely the second lowest on this program. But just because it's the lowest at the moment doesn't mean that there aren't going to be cards that will fit what I want to do and that I wouldn't be willing to buy into. Like, if the Wells Fargo Autograph Beyond, which is rumored, or if the new City card that's supposed to be the luxury card, or the luxury Hyatt card is something that will fit what I want to do and provide that value, I'll buy into those cards. But right now, there's nothing else that's readily out there that I'm ready to buy into and make that an investment. Pass it back on that one.
Yeah, CSR travel protections, probably some of the best, I would say. Might take a little time, but if you get all your paperwork and all that stuff up in the front end, it's actually very smooth and easy. But I digress.
This is the point of the program where I tell you, please have an umbrella policy with whoever does your auto and homeowners insurance if you're going to travel internationally or even nationally, or you play golf and may one day hit somebody in the head with a golf ball. Please, that's all I'm going to say on the topic of insurance.
I may or may not have to talk to you offline about this.
It sounds a little triggered there, RJ.
So transitioning off of topics, we actually have a pair of questions tonight. So let's read them off and go through these. The first question is, I'm going away to college soon and trying to figure out which card to get now that I'm 18. What is a good student card to help with my credit score and help me travel a bit back home and with friends? Yep. And then it comes from Adam. So when I first saw this question, my first answer was, oh, just get the Chase Freedom Rise. 1.5% back. Chase, don't need a credit score, get you started on your Chase journey if that's a thing that you believe you need to do according to hype train pushers. How about that? That's not a good term. There are other good student credit cards, but also the first thing I would probably want to ask is, like, do you have established credit as an authorized user? Because if you have established credit, you can start your journey however you want. Like, if you've been an authorized user on a parent's card for a number of years and you've got good credit because of their good financial habits, the world is your oyster. Like, if you're starting at 760, like, understand how the cards work, but you can kind of go get whatever you want. But that withstanding, Chase Freedom Rise to me is a good answer. I think there's a custom cash rewards for students from Bank of America. That could be interesting. You get to pick a 3% category, which, kids and college are not likely eating at the dining hall every single night. So dining could be a good category for you. Groceries could be a good category for you. The Bank of America also has their unlimited rewards card, which is 1.5%. They have a student version of that. If you want to dive into the horror show that is Capital One, you can get a Capital One student card. They'll treat you well while you're a student. It's everything after that you should be worried about. Those are some of the picks I had. RJ, do you have any to throw in there?
So I think that the Freedom Unlimited from Chase, if you can get that card, I think that is a good card because you get the 1.5 everything, and then you get a couple of the 3x categories. Plus, you can use the portal. You just can't transfer out. So if you book through the portal, you do have that ability. I know this person. I changed the name because they're a relative of mine. So I know that they don't have credit, or I would suggest the green card because from Amex because of the travel, because I know that that would be helpful for them with the travel and transit. But they don't have it, so they don't have credit. So that's why I think Chase is a good option with the Freedom Unlimited.
So I'm gonna actually double down and double click on what both of them had said. The first thing that I would do is get a authorized user card. Now, if you have a responsible parent, adult, family member like RJ, for example, you don't actually need the card. So don't even ask to say, "Hey, do you trust me enough to like not use this card in an irresponsible manner?" For example, RJ, I'm just going to use you because you're right here. Um, and you just admitted that this person is related to you, to say, would you mind opening up a card as an authorized user for me? You keep it. I don't need it. Don't show me the number. Don't need anything. Just let me piggyback on your good credit as an authorized user. That would actually help you build your credit more than anything. And like I said, you're not going to, that person, that responsible adult, that responsible card holder that already has that good credit that you can piggyback off of, especially knowing like this person doesn't have access to this card, so I don't have to worry about them like going out or anything. It's literally just a free favor. That's what I would do. So go petition around, sing for yourself or whatever you can do to get on that some responsible adult that you trust or card holders as an authorized user. But like I said, I would even go as far to say, don't even give me the card. I just want to help build my credit. So you keep it, cut it up, throw it in the shredder. I don't care. But can you at least do that one solid for me? The other thing would be, yes, start off getting a card yourself. Now, that does not mean like, hey, your birthday is on Friday at noon, go apply for a new card. If you're able to get someone to be that authorized, to allow you to be an authorized user on their account, give it some time to fester. Give it like 6 months or so, because yes, you could 100% get a student card like the Freedom Rise. I remember I got the uh, MX Blue student card. I don't even know if they still make that card anymore, but it earns MR points. Whatever version is the current version does earn MR points with Amex. So you at least will get MR points that you could start accumulating. And if you actually wanted to use them for something, you can use them in, Amex travel portal. Well, you can't transfer them out, but you can use them in like the travel portal or cash them out or anything like that. But to actually, like I said, to resonate with RJ, instead of going with a student card, if I could go back to when I was a student, I wouldn't have done a student card. I would have rather have done a finite, like not necessarily top shelf, but a standard credit card like the Freedom Unlimited, a Freedom Flex. I know we just talked about Built changes, but Built as a college student, especially with these changes coming, is a really good card because you're gonna have tuition fees. You're probably already got student loans. You're gonna have health care costs, and eventually, I don't know your financial situation, but there's a good chance that in America you're probably going to rent before you own a home. So, and you're already set up. A built is not an easy card to get. It's not an entry level card. It is a top shelf player, well, middle shelf player, just like all the other ones in the middle of the pack, where you need almost a $700, 700 point credit score to get. It's like what, 650, 680 or something is what they recommend. But still, call it about 700 to get it with a good credit limit, I would say. I would think to get a standard credit card would be a better option than getting a student card. Student card, yes, will 100% get you in the door and get you on your way, but you're still going to you're just putting it in cold storage because you're going to get a better credit card later. And if you can just start off with the better finite established credit card, I would 100% recommend that. But the only way that you could do that starting at 18, unless you've already started your credit and financial journey, that authorized user is going to be key, like super key. And I'm talking about less than a year key from get a student card to just get an established credit card, like literally less than a year. So that would be my recommendation. RJ, your family member might be calling you soon.
No, I will be calling their parents because, I love all of my relatives, but you know, I I would rather their parents take on the duty and burden than me.
I totally agree with that. I have conversations with my nieces and nephews all the time. And yes, I have a lot of nieces and nephews that are at 18 and older. I was an uncle before I had a driver's license. I'm the youngest in my family. Obviously, they ask me these types of credit questions as well. And I'm like, I would 100% do it. You're never going to get that card though.
Yep.
I love you. I don't trust you, but I love you.
Yep. Yeah. On that, I will be making some moves in the next year or two to start some family on their credit journeys very early, just to make sure that when they can start applying for their own credit cards and their own needs for credit, that they'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the topic, let me just go ahead and inform the viewing, listening audience. For majority chase cards, Sapphire cards, Freedom Flex, Freedom Unlimited, there's no age requirement for an authorized user. So your newborn baby, you can add as an authorized user and let them ride that out for the next 18 years. You can do it with Amex. Amex, you do have to be 13 years old to be an authorized user. But still, 13 to 18 is still 5 years of piggybacking mom, dad, grandma, grandpa's, uncle, aunt's good credit or cousin, whatever, that responsible card holding adult is. That's still a good 5 years, even if you're in the Amex ecosystem. So for all y'all out there listening, you might have someone that you want to help support and set them off on a financial and credit journey in the right way. You can do it. It depends on which cards you have, but like I said, majority of Chase cards, I know my Sapphire cards, my Freedom cards, and my United cards do not have an age requirement. I would 100% recommend like a $95 annual fee card that has $0 authorized users versus one like a Sapphire Reserve that would charge for an authorized user, of course. So I don't know what's in y'all wallet out there, but at least there's the information if you want have someone in your family in that age group that you want to help set up on that financial journey. My parents did it for me, turned out great. I'm still thankful for them setting me off on the right way. It does make a difference.
All right, let us go to our second viewer question. Hey, we got two. Um, this question is: will the American Express Everyday and Everyday Preferred be refreshed this year? What will American Express do? I I don't know. I've done a speculation station video on this because I took a crack on it at it. I think the everyday card should just be a flat 2 times point earner so that people who aren't comfortable getting the Blue Business Plus, like it's relatively easy to get the Blue Business Plus. I'm not saying that it's a hard card to get, but if you're someone who says business card, not for me, I don't know what business I do, and you're not willing to sit there and be told, hey, if you do landscaping, if you do Uber driving, if you do this, if you do that, if you do this other thing that are all side hustles that you make some bit of money, you can qualify for the Blue Business Plus. If you're not willing to go get the Blue Business Plus, American Express getting in a 2% or 2 times membership reward point earning card at no annual fee would be spectacular. The Everyday Preferred, I don't know, just change the grocery spend from 6,000 to 10,000. Make gas 3 times points and keep the 50% kicker. I don't know what else to do with that $95 annual fee card. But I don't know if they're going to change them. They should, but we'll see. RJ, you have any thoughts on the everyday preferred?
I agree. I did a video. I agree with the 2x on the everyday. I mean, would I keep my Blue Business Plus if they had a 2x personal card? Probably right now because I don't want to take the hit of getting another personal card, but if that wasn't something I cared about, would I switch to a personal? Probably. Um, For the everyday preferred, I kind of want to see an MR version of the Blue Cash Everyday or the Blue Cash Preferred, using some of those like the streaming categories. I don't think there's anything that's MR point based for streaming, even online shopping. I think if they did something like that, it could be a really nice card because with Amex, as I point out often, you can't turn the cash cards into points, which means that if they don't have something in the points, you can't get points for it. So if they could turn the everyday preferred with their $95 fee into something, hybrid of the Blue Cash preferred, I think it would go a long way to make people really happy, and you wouldn't have to rewrite the code base for Amex, right? It's all things they have. It would just be points instead of cash. So that's what I would personally like to see.
Lonnie?
I'm actually got a short answer for this one. So Amex started the year off saying they were refreshing, like 40. It was some crazy amount of number of cards, like 40 cards.
Yeah.
So to answer your first question, yeah, they're probably going to refresh it. Like, short answer, yeah, they're probably going to refresh it. Now, what are they going to do? I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We all just witnessed what happened with the rabbit hole of the Amex Gold. And I will wait until they roll the credits and see what scrolls up on screen. It's completely unpredictable, is what I'm saying. Who knows what Amex is going to do? So they might make a white gold version. I have no idea.
Oh boy.
The chocolate
blue
gold. That's
the purple everyday preferred.
It's like the chocolate diamonds that were everywhere like 10 years ago. They're gonna make the chocolate gold version.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, if they did a purple version of the Everyday Preferred, but it was the colorway of the Delta Reserve, that would be a really nice looking card. But it wouldn't be worth anything if it had terrible multipliers or terrible credits.
Yeah. I mean, if a card has terrible multipliers, why are we even considering it? If it doesn't fit, why are we even considering it? And don't say it because everyone said it's a good card or it gets 2x on everything, because you can get that somewhere else. So
the only reason I think that anybody should get the everyday card is if you need a place to stash your MR points and you don't want to have anything else for a little while and no annual fee for a little while. And you don't have a checking account to have the debit card. I think that's the only acceptable reason right now to have the everyday. But that's just my 2 cents.
Yep. No, absolutely. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of Stack Your Points. If you like what we do, hit the like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Check us out on your podcatcher of choice. Please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts if you happen to listen to us there. And whatever the equivalent of 5-star ratings would be on the podcatcher of your choice, whether it's Icecast, Pocket Cast, Overcast, whatever cast, Podbean, Libsyn. I am just naming things to name things at this point, but 5 stars would be greatly appreciated. As always, if you want to leave a comment, please do. If you want to ask us questions like we got tonight, drop those in the comments of the YouTube video, and there is our email address as well in the description of our YouTube video and in the description of every episode. So feel free to drop a line. We will take the time to answer. Lani, if folks want to follow more of your stuff, where can they find you?
Best place to find me is on YouTube, and my channel name is Call Me Lani, all one word. Lani is spelled Lani. The instructions are in the name. Come by, hit subscribe, drop me a comment, say, hey, I came from the Stack Your Points podcast. I'll guarantee you I will heart that particular comment and 100% respond.
Absolutely. Me as well. RJ, where can we find you on the great corners of the internet?
You can find me on YouTube at Do You Take Cards? I was traveling today, so no video today, but I hopefully will have one up Thursday. It will not be about the Amex Gold card, I promise. I can make you that promise 100%.
Thursdays are product change chronicles. So yeah, no, we've already changed the product, so we can't do it again. And you guys can follow me at Matt Clausen channel on YouTube. If you let me know that you come from Stacker Points, I will also heart and comment very, very quickly. Uh, I do credit news and speculation from here from time to time, or just go deep diving on various topics. Anyway, that'll do it for Stacky Points. We look forward to seeing you next week, and we'll hopefully have our full crew next week as well. And talk to you soon.
Good night.
Night.